when we started this process, we were looking back on the basic workflows within the institutions, I mean, consortium, and basically through the institutes. And the main thing was that we didn't have concrete, SRS, but we are going to work in a way that whenever there is anything that might be important to all of us, we'll actually need to incorporate, and Amit is here to assure us on that. He will be working us through anything that we need to, amend or, add up or remove from the platform will be, addressed adequately. And I don't know whether I have the screen. Yeah, let me share my screen. The KLISC, I think, as Anol has mentioned, is that the navigating point will be through the website, and from this case, this is the landing page through the website. So it will actually lead you to the login page, which I will actually, have to log out. And for this matter, once you log in, you will be in a position to see this particular login page. And for us to start signing up, that is the process of registration. Then we'll have to go to the signing option. Now, under the signing option, you will be required to put your details, the institutional details, and you will be subscribing as a subscriber. The word in this case, you may not see the member institute, but you will be, registering as a subscriber. So your personal institution name, so you'll have to do the institutional name there. You'll have to add up the email, which is mandatory. And as Arnold had said, your institutional email will be important here. Your personal, the contact number to the institute or university or college. So you'll have to add in there. Definitely, you'll have to do your password so that you'll be able to log in. And again, in this case, the organization is KLISC. So you'll have to select KLISC. And then, of course, the role in this case will be the subscriber. This registration template is similar to the publisher. So the same thing, publisher will be able to register through this, but with the option of separating the subscriber and the publisher. And then, of course, you have to mention a couple of things here. Things like, your address, your physical address and your postal office. And then you go into direct place to register. When you register, you will be in a position to log in. For me, I had already registered, so let me register using a different account, which is now the account to, subscriber account. And I've used a different company to register. So here we are in here as a user. A user in this case is a subscriber, which is the institution. And basically, once you log in here, there are a couple of things that you need to do. One, your process is not complete until you start completing this part. So when you start completing that part, you need to mention a couple of things. And this is what Arnold was mentioning. If your institution is 10,000 users, then you need to add up to 10,000 users. So you need to mention even the URL of the institute. You need to mention the primary contact person, and also your address, primary contact, phone number, and the email as well. And most importantly, we wanted to know your research priorities. Is your institution a medical institute? Is your institution an engineering institute? You can actually mention as many as possible. This will actually help KLISC in terms of negotiating and bargaining with publishers, knowing in mind that we have 6 or 15 institutions that are teaching law, and therefore they will be in a position to negotiate accordingly. So once you're done with that, you need to update your profile. And once you update your profile, the next thing will be now you will have your own dashboard. Once we start populating this page and everyone is creating the accounts, you will be in a position to know how many number of packages that the KLISC is giving us through different publishers. What you need to do is just to go to the packages, and if you're a subscriber, definitely you're subscribing, and I will allow me to use my loft for now. There are things that you need to do. One, if you are a new member, then you need to pay up the subscription fee. you need to register. There is a fee for registration, and everything has to be selected from this case. For instance, if my package is an FTE between 10,000 and above, I'll select KLISC Band D. That means KLISC will issue me an invoice of 10,000 users plus. And then what else do I need to subscribe through KLISC? I need to subscribe either RemoteX or MyLove. So when I select the two and click subscription, I'm actually asking KLISC to issue me a quotation for these two institutes, two products. Remember, you cannot be a member of band A, C, D. You have to select at least one band, and that band you will be in a position to know, to read more about here. It's important for you to know because, again, based on your full-time enrollment, will actually determine the amount of, the package that KLISC will invoice you directly. So as you can see, the subscribe status is I have already subscribed. Now, what next? What follows next in this case is KLISC will have received this request, and they will evaluate your request based on the total number of users. At times, you can actually select a wrong band, which is not in your category, and request KLISC to issue you an invoice. For instance, if your institute is above 10,000, take the examples of the big universities, and you wrongly select 1,000. So KLISC is able to reject your subscription and send you a note that you've subscribed the wrong package. Kindly check and subscribe the correct one. So that is a workflow that you will be doing. Now, under that, once that one is approved, you will actually see the status in this case that KLISC, these are the packages that I have actually subscribed, and it is pending payment status. Payment status means KLISC first have not approved your account, and whenever they approve your account, they will issue you the quotation, which now you'll start process of submission to the finance. And once you are ready to pay, KLISC will issue you an invoice. But to cut the process short, probably some of you, like in KLISC, for instance, you are issued an invoice with the timelines to pay within 3 months. So similar case, we wanted to have this workflow seamlessly so that the interaction point is through the dashboard rather than having several calls through the KLISC treasurer or the executive. Now, I will move into my admin portal so that you can see that particular request. So this is my admin page. I'm an administrator for now until the end of this training. Then thereafter, I think KLISC will take it over completely. So under the admin, KLISC will check in the approvals and the user request. They will see that there are many. If you are registering, I have seen there are 2 registrations. There is Strathmore University and KASNEP that have actually registered online. They cannot be automatic members without KLISC approving them. So whenever we click approve, they will now receive go ahead to log into the portal, and they will be able to start selecting the packages that they're subscribing. And I'm also approving that. So the request has gone back to the institute. Now, remember, I did a package request. So under the package request, I will be able to see the institutions that have actually requested. And we have now these institutes that you can see they have requested for. These are new institutes that has actually requested for password, quotation. Now, we have the generation of quotation. So whenever we click password generate, quote generate, the quotation will have been issued directly to the user. When I go back to the admin, the user side, let me just refresh this button. The request is still pending until the sending of quotation received. So when I send the quotation from the KLISC side, KLISC will be able to see the quotation that has been sent, and also from the member side. Once this one is approved, then the quotation will be, the invoice will be issued. I can see members, registering. So the next thing will be to generate an invoice. So the same institute has an invoice, and the quotation has been sent. And finally, we are doing now, once payment has been made, let's say, for instance, that particular institute has actually paid, KLISC will issue the receipt by just clicking a button in this case. But the other things that KLISC will be in a position to see is actually the IP request. Whenever a member institute is actually requesting for a change of an IP, that particular IP will be received under the KLISC dashboard, and KLISC will be in a position to check whether those particular IP are in correct format or not. Secondly, we request members that whenever you are sending this particular IP request, do not actually send your local IPs, like the intranet IPs. We wanted to have the KNet IPs. If you are not using KNet, probably then you can send public IPs rather, so that KLISC will be in a position to add them. A couple of things that still a member can do in this case is that a member will actually see the quotation that has actually been issued, and probably they can actually go with that. It will be popping up depending on how many quotations you've actually received. The part of the IP is very simple. A member can actually select the IPs by adding these particular IPs, clicking add IPs, and then you can actually mention, if you have a block of an IPs, let's say a range of 10, 15 IPs, definitely you are requested to add it here. Let me just do one. I'm assuming that is my public IP. I will add one. If I still have more IPs, then I can still come and add them. Whether in a range, I can add in a range, so I can still add many. So by filling this particular, IP fields will allow me to add many IPs. And again, to repeat, is we need public IPs and not local IPs. Right? So, and add them. So I have actually submitted 2 of our IPs. Probably there is one for, dedicated for specific, services, and the rest will be for different campuses. So if you have more than 2 campuses or 3, mention all the IPs in that particular list, and KLISC will be in a position to push them to the members. Now, whenever you come to the public, IP status, you will actually see that this IP is pending approval by KLISC. When KLISC approves this IP, that particular IP will be sent directly to a specific publisher. Now, this is the KLISC dashboard for the IP status. Now, let me refresh, I think. Right. So you can actually see, I think we have more than that. You can actually see the IPs that have been actually sent, and KLISC will be in a position to either approve or reject them. For instance, if this particular IP is being pushed to a specific publisher, then that will be sent directly to that publisher. So the status will be reflecting here, and again, you will be able to see whether the publisher has approved or not. And this is specifically designed to the admin dashboard to KLISC. If on the other side of the user will actually see the status as pending for approval by publisher. You can still able to track that. And in this case, say for instance, publisher details, we need to see. So in this case, once the IPs comes in, the IP request will pop up here, and you'll actually see that we have 2 different IPs, one from KSNEP and 2 from Silda. So whenever KLISC approves, then to which publisher are we sending that particular IP? Say, for instance, we have this IP from KSNEP. Probably this publisher we need to send to maybe Eclat Engineering as a publisher. We are using that for now, but also maybe probably Springer, or we are sending to all publishers, right? So you can actually select a list of all the publishers and send it in one go. So we are submitting your public IP to many publishers. So by clicking submit, the status under the user side will actually reflect to a different status. So you'll see that the IP correct. So this is the details. Just a second. I'm just submitting specific IPs to specific publisher. That one is done. So as the dashboard, I will see that the status is pending publisher, and I have to log in as a publisher to approve this. Let me log in as a publisher. So this is the publisher side, and under the publisher, you will be able to see the request, and I can see the IP request. So we can actually see that the publisher, on the publisher's dashboard, there is a request that is coming from KLISC, and if the publisher approves that particular IP, the communication is made directly to the institute and also to KLISC that that particular IP has been approved. So you can as well, let me just approve for now. So that is the publisher dashboard, and the user dashboard on this other side will be able to see that the status, the IP has been approved. So once you get these details, then you can go to the page or whichever the publisher, the resource that you're accessing, and you'll actually have the access. So this is the seamless workflow that we are looking at in making sure that whatever the IPs, and this was really a big problem within the KLISC, the IP aspect, where again, members are keep changing the IPs, or the ICT, changes the IP without informing the library and so forth. And whenever a library, whenever that happens, we request that the librarian or whoever will be in charge of the portal can actually come up here and amend those particular IPs by just adding the new IPs, and that will be added by the publisher. So from the publisher's dashboard, that particular IP will have been approved, and there's nothing that is coming through the dashboard of the publisher at the moment. At the same time, publisher is able to push some journals, say specific package of journals. If KLISC, for instance, has negotiated a package, say Emerald, either for books or a specific journals, they will be in a position to push those particular titles, and you'll be able to, to add those particular titles that have actually pushed through the dashboard. In another case, they can actually import through an Excel CSV file if there is a package that has been negotiated by KLISC, and that can be also added. And whenever they are added from your end as a subscriber, you will be required to mention those particular titles, whether in your portal, or we can actually add them directly through either Remotex or MyLoft, so that users can seamlessly access those particular resources. So again, I am able to see the published IPs for each and every institute and the status as it is. And actually, the publisher can reject a specific IP. For instance, KLISC has pushed an IP to the publisher, and probably maybe the SLA or there is no subscription of that particular institute. For instance, if University X is subscribing to Clinical Key, and they are not eligible members to subscribe, so we can actually reject, the publisher can reject the IP with a comment that probably you are not eligible to access based on the agreement with KLISC and something like that. So this dashboard will give more information regarding that. And also in terms of emails, we wanted to have it a general workflow whereby you don't have again to come up to or to use your personal email, to communicate in KLISC matters or anything pertaining to the consortium. We have the internal communication where you can actually communicate. You can actually compose an email directly. The publisher can write to a specific, user and mention probably the subject and the paragraph, and can actually send that particular communication. At the same time, if there's any communication between the user, which is the subscriber, and consortium and the publisher, those particular emails will be popping up directly from here. If we adopt to use messaging or the communication which we have actually developed within the platform. So you'll be able to see all the inbox, all the sent messages, emails, and so forth within the portal. And this will only be regarding to issues pertaining a specific resource or generally concerning the consortium matters. So in similar case, under KLISC Dashboard as well, as the administrators, KLISC will be in a position to see who or which institute have actually requested for a specific, invoice, and you'll be able to see invoices by just clicking that, and you can actually receive the automated receipting, the automated invoice. Things including the quotations will be there. All the quotations that has been shared with the KLISC. Statements can mention statement from the date, can mention the institute. For instance, let's say we are sending statement for AMREF. You can mention the date that you want to share that particular statement. And of course, the moment you load this particular one, because at the moment we don't have data, the moment you select particular institute, it will actually load all the statements. If you've been paying the statement of your payments, transactions, whatever from the date that you can actually specify here. And it makes it easier for KLISC, and also for accountability, matters. We have an issue at the moment, and allow me to say this, whereby a particular institute is paying probably through their finance department, and they're sending a rider to deposit a check. That particular rider puts up a name, their personal name. So it becomes a problem for accounting when it comes to KLISC end, whereby there is payment, yes, but it is not traced to each or whichever the institute, and it becomes a problem. And especially, let's say, the finance people are the ones, paying or doing the payments. I will request that whenever the payments within KLISC is done from each and every member institute, it is the role of the contact person to know whether that payment has been made and when is the date, and also you acquire the transaction copy. That transaction copy will also help KLISC, in putting up the statements together or updating the payment status, so that you don't be disconnected for the services and yet the payment was made. I am aware of an institute where an institute paid like 4 months ago. The librarian is even not aware about the payment, and the librarian keeps writing emails to finance asking for the payments and all that, and the payment was done long time ago. That particular person paid with their personal name, not writing the institutional name for accountability. So it is important so that whenever we are, treasurer is actually sending me the statements, he or she is able to consolidate or update the payment as per the transaction that was made. In future, Amit had mentioned to me earlier that in future we will wish to connect this to the bank APIs, so that whenever the payment comes directly to KLISC, the platform is able to update and also share the receipting, and it makes it easier. But then again, that is an uphill. It's another way, because it involves some third parties that we have to negotiate for that particular case. I mean, the banking side, because again, we'll have to reuse their APIs. For this matter, for now, probably the receipting will still be done, manually from the point of posting the payments upon payment by the member consortium. member institute. So the statement will be there. We will be able, KLISC will be able to send you the statement based on the years that you've been paying. If you want a specific payments, you will be able to see the list of all the transactions that has been made. Then again, the IP, I've mentioned that, but the most important thing in this case is whenever a member institute is not requesting an invoice, KLISC has the right to send you an invoice without you requesting. At times you can delay in requisitioning the invoice or in requesting for the invoice, and the timing is going. For instance, the KLISC timeline is 3 months for payment, if I'm not wrong. So you will actually receive an invoice 3 months before. But we request you to be, requesting these things earlier enough so that you can actually plan by your, from your end to make sure that the payment is done. So KLISC can still issue an invoice to a selected institute, say for instance to Africa AMREF, and select the package. Probably that particular institute is band B, and probably they are still subscribing to another resource, and then submit. So this will be directly sent to your dashboard as that particular member. So AMREF, when they log in, they will be able to see that on their dashboard, there's an invoice that has been sent by KLISC, and therefore they can actually print out and start the process of payment. So emails, again, there will be communication coming in from direct institute directly to consortium and consortium back, and all this will be directly done here. And we encourage that whenever you are making any transaction or proof of payment, just make sure that you also use the platform to communicate to KLISC. And also probably if you want to see KLISC email, that is KLISC Gmail, you can still do it. It will be an added advantage. So in a nutshell, that is the package, that is the KLISC dashboard as of now. In future, we'll be trying to make sure that we work based on the requirements that will be coming up. I know for now, it might be a little bit, because we've not, launched it officially, for full-fledged, operation, but there might be some 2 or 3 hiccups. We will take it that, and we will actually be in a position to communicate directly with the developer and probably get the feedback. So allow me to end it here, and not unless there is a question from the panelists, comments, or from the subscribers. Back to you, Mr. Okiai.
Thank you very much, Sheila. I think the moderator is Mr. Mao, so I'll hand over to Mr. Mao, please.
So Mr. Mao has stepped out, but so I'll hold forth for him. So colleagues, any questions at this point? I've seen most of the institutions have already registered. However, we actually had on the timetable a session for the registration to the dashboard, simply because currently we have quite a number of tests on the system. So before we start the session, Sila will actually clear out everything so the system is fresh. Then now we do the actual registration, so that whatever you've put there, we actually are going to take it as your official IP addresses, official contact. I've seen some people had already registered previously, but the information there is inaccurate. So I think that session will start at I think after the next presentation. Then we'll be able to all register at once. Mr. Otuoma, Mr. Shiundu, would you like to step in at this point? Because actually, colleagues, these are the members of ICT committee. Mr. Otuoma is the secretary. We have Mr. Shiundu as the vice chair. We have Mr. Okiai as a member. Mr. Solomon Mutai also a member. Myself as a member, and also now the chair is Mr. Mao, and also Mr. Peter Gatiti is also a member. So questions are welcome, but I also invite Mr. Otuoma and Shiundu to also just jump in and mention anything that you'd like to mention.
presentation has been pretty comprehensive. I don't think I could top anything up on that. But maybe just to encourage people as we wait for the next session, again, just to repeat, please have your details ready. If you haven't put in your IP addresses or your contact details, have them at hand so that then we are all able to have our data online at the close of this session when you're done with the training today.
Thank you, Shiundu. Solomon, we want to hear you. People want to hear, get some wise words from you.
No, I think from what I've heard actually in presentations, there's been quite comprehensive. And I believe institutions pick the point people to actually fill in the details there, because some institutions could be having more people who have actually logged in there. So we pick the administrators and they actually fill in that. And as we have said, Silas to clear whatever we've put in, and then we put in afresh authentic details. So I think that's what I can say. But I think the presentation has been quite comprehensive and useful.
Thank you, Solomon. Maybe I can also just mention that the ICT and Innovations team will be offering support to the Secretariat in terms of any tethering problems. So I know sometimes you're used to just calling one person, but now the ICT committee is available to step in and offer assistance, because they've actually had several interactions with this system. So feel free to reach out to the team, Mr. Otuoma, Mr. Shiundu, Mr. Mutai, Mr. Okiai, and I don't know if I'm forgetting anyone else, Mr. Mao and myself. As we wait for questions, I can see there's a question talking about the dashboard link. As I mentioned, the KLISC website, if I can just share the KLISC website. The KLISC website is klisc.or.ke.
Arnold?
Yes, please.
I think you can share your screen and demonstrate to everyone how to get to that link on the KLISC website.
Oh, all right, okay. So colleagues, this is the KLISC website, klisc.or.ke. If you want to get to the resource page, you just go to resources down there. Here we have National Repository Search. And by the way, this is one of the initiatives of the ICT committee, the outgoing committee. They developed a search box that you can actually search across all our repositories. So I encourage you, in case you're doing literature review, go to that link and do your search. It has been linked to all the repositories. It's a Google custom search, all our repositories. Here we have a list of all the available electronic resources. So the list is not yet updated, as I mentioned earlier. We're waiting for you, colleagues, to make your payments so that now we can publish the authentic KLISC for 2022, so that when we tell you it is available, you're actually accessing it, rather than we posting it there and you're not able to access because you're not paid out. We'll be doing that by the end of, by the mid-February. And then here we had a list of electronic journals, which are individually subscribed, but focus on this one rather than this one. So we go to the resources and then select KLISC Dashboard. So that's the link. Although this is what you will be doing at the time of actual registration. So that's how to go about it. Professor Kavulia, I don't know if Prof is back with us. Okay, if not, I think I would like to take it back to the chair. I can see Mr. Mao is back. So Mr. Mao, we've just finished a brief overview of the dashboard, which was facilitated by Mr. To. And the ICT committee has also given some insight, and I think we're on the same page. So maybe just back to you. Okay, I think he's offline. As we wait for colleagues, I would like to mention, now this is a KLISC issue, to just remind us that there's a call for a project that I fell in partnership with the KLISC. KLISC won a grant, and that grant is meant to facilitate institutions in adopting open journal systems so that we can have our own journals published by our institutions, and if possible, actually domiciled within the library, because we want to make sure that the library remains relevant. So you find that there are some libraries that have already taken up this mandate. Kenyatta University, University of Nairobi, they're actually spearheading adoption of journal management systems, supporting their faculty in hosting journals within the library, of course, through the OJS. So through this grant, the institutions that were requested to show interest through Dr. Njoroge, who's the IFL Open Access Coordinator. I will also just give him some 2 minutes to say something as we wait for the chair. The whole idea is we need to get this going. Institutions have been asked so many times to provide names of journals, but people have not been responding. So please, if you are in that category, just provide the details. Dr. Njoroge, would you like to say something very quickly as we wait for chair?
Yes, Arnold. The project covers 23 institutions which showed interest. Those ones are covered by the project, but after discussing with the chair of KLISC management, we decided to bring on board the rest of the group. We have sensitization workshop on 24th. Those who have requested for letters specific for your institution, we are ready to send that. And it is being done by Arnold. When I give him the names, I've also sent a generic invitation letter. If you feel you don't want to use that, particularly where it's talked about university, we can also tailor-made one for you. But remember, if you're outside the 23 institution for the sensitization workshop, which we are requesting about 3 members, you have to pay for them. But for the other subsequent now implementation project, we will not request you to have any money or to give us any money. We have divided the country into 5 zones, and later we'll just communicate to you how you'll fit in those zones. For now, it's just to say that please, you are welcome to Kenyatta University on 24th. It's a physical meeting. For those who are not in the project, if you have not received a letter from me or an invitation letter from me, and you're using the generic, please remember you have to pay the 3K. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. I'm actually using this opportunity to talk about any KLISC matters, because I know we have a whole hour, so we have to make use of it. At this point, I would like to also invite the KLISC Executive Program Coordinator, Mr. Agava, to just talk about something about the conference. I've had some people seeking clarification on where the conference is going to be. The AGM, as you all know, we passed that the AGM is going to be held in University of Eldoret in May. The exact date is 27th of May. But we have a team so led by Mr. Agava. So Agava, please welcome and say something regarding the conference. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. This is Agava, Programs Coordinator, KLISC Executive. We have a conference coming, and you know very well that it's a long time since when we had a conference. So this is the 3rd KLISC annual conference, which will be taking place in Eldoret. And it will be followed by the AGM. So the conference will take place at Eka Hotel in Eldoret, and the AGM will take place at the University of Eldoret. This will be May 25th and 26th, that is for the conference, and May 27th for the AGM, which is only the members in KLISC. Now, for the conference, people are now currently writing their papers. We managed to send out letters of invitation or showing letters of acceptance of your abstract, which we sent out 2 or 3 weeks ago. If you are co-authoring a paper, So we sent the letter to the correspondent author. But if you are a co-author within that, please let me know if you also need a letter, because we understand that there are some members who wish to use that letter for them to be given granted or support by the institutions so that to attend the conference. Please let me know, and we will definitely in a position to facilitate that. Please take note of the timelines, because we want this not just to be a local conference, but an international conference. Many people say librarians are working in libraries, working with books, working with journals, but they are not publishing. These are an opportunity. Our main thing is that this should translate into a publication, into a journal that KLISC is supposed to launch soon. So you can see there are several projects that are coming in. So please, please, please come on board and let us see. If you really feel that you still have an abstract that you want to submit, let me know, and see, so that we may see if we can consider you, considering the timelines that are currently remaining. Otherwise, asanteni sana.
Thank you, Mr. Gava. And just to echo his sentiments and to clarify, the conference is at Eka Hotel. Eka Hotel is at Rupa Mall. For those of you who have passed that Eldoret, that route going to, actually in Eldoret town, it's right inside the town, Rupa Mall. So it's inside the mall, but on the next building. And then the AGM will be at University of Eldoret, which is on your way to E10. We'll give further details as the time comes. Again, as we still wait for more questions, I would like to invite the chair of Access and Information Literacy, Dr. Penina Msangi, because I know she sent out a survey recently. So Dr. Penina, in case you would like to say something, I welcome you. And maybe just to also mention to colleagues, once the dashboard is done and you require training for resources. So training for the dashboard is done by the ICT committee, but for resources and information literacy and even for the new members, it is done by the Access and Information Literacy. So Dr. Penina, I invite you.
Thank you, Arnold, for the invite. And good morning, members. I'm the chair of the Access and Information Literacy Committee of KLISC. And our work is to empower you as members to access the resources we have for you. And also to make sure that you also empower your users in the libraries. For instance, yesterday we had an onboarding session with the new members, and also some continuing members joined an exercise or an activity which was very successful. Thank you so much for joining. The other thing we have done is that we rolled out a survey, an online survey, whereby we wanted to establish the challenges and even the successes you have in terms of accessing and using the e-resources. We shared a link, good response came up. And even in addition, I have noted that some institutions have requested for some customized training, which we are considering as a committee, and further communication will be available to you. For the benefit of new members, the survey came to an end last week on Friday, but in due course, we'll be rolling out several surveys to establish how we are using the e-resources, any hiccups, and also suggestions on how we can improve our consortium, our e-resources, and even other products we offer as KLISC. So that's what we are doing as the Access and Information Literacy Committee. Thank you so much, Arnold, for giving me the opportunity to say about our committee.
Welcome, Dr. So again, I'm going to ambush somebody else, Dr. Beatrice Kwach, Odera Kwach. She's in the Monitoring and Evaluation Committee. The reason I would like her to say something is we usually collect statistics every year. We collect statistics of these resources that KLISC subscribes to, and this is what informs renewal or non-renewal. As I mentioned, we are now going back to Wiley. If you remember, we had stopped Wiley in 2019 because of usage. We also had stopped Emerald for almost some months and EBSCO for 1 year. So maybe even as we launch this dashboard, and the committee will be working very closely with publishers to ensure that statistics are availed to users and to the consortium executive committee to inform decisions like renewal and even ebooks. We are now in the era of acquiring quite a number of ebooks. So Dr. Beatrice Odera Kwach, you're welcome.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Arnold, for giving me this opportunity and for the training which is ongoing. I think our committee is also on board. We are trying to collect the data which we received from the members the other time, and we will collect them, synthesize them, format, and present them to the executive committee. Meanwhile, we are still going to engage members more on the monitoring and evaluation of the e-resources in mid-February, or by the end of this, end of the month. We'll contact the members with another questionnaire maybe on the usage. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. I'm looking for another EC member. I can't see Jen Grace, anyone? Okay. So I think that was just we were trying to, talk about KLISC matters, just update you, because we get rare chances of having, quite a number of members. I can see we are 147. So also during this session, if you have any questions that you would like to direct to the EC regarding, the e-paper, regarding the payments, regarding anything, you're free to ask. At this point, let me ask Sila. Sila, have you wiped out the dashboard? Because I'm seeing we are at 11. We are 1 hour earlier, but there's no harm in just going on with the program, since yes, I think most people would also like to, today's Friday, to go where they usually go early. So
what I'm thinking is that, thank you, I'm sorry for that. So I've seen some members are registering, let them continue. What we need now is the registration details. From the admin side, I think you will be in a position to reject if they have done the wrong, and you will push it back to the user. So let them register as you evaluate as they come.
Oh, okay. Although I would have wanted it to be a step-by-step guide, because yeah, so that's what I was saying. We wipe out everything, and then now when we start, everybody now can log in. Because I'm seeing people are still asking which primary contacts do we put. So we clarify step by step, and then now we start the registration.
Yeah, I think Otuoma was to do the user side,
okay,
the whole perspective, probably on a different screen, registering a different institute completely.
Okay.
So that we can take them one by one.
Okay, all right. Okay, so yeah, over to you, Mr. Otuoma.
So Arnold, I had already registered my institution, but if you give me a minute, I can just.
Sure.
I can start in about a minute.
Okay, all right. We'll give Mr. Otuoma a minute. Meanwhile, let me also talk about the e-paper, the nation paper. So we realized that so many people had shown interest in the Daily Nation e-paper, but now when the deal came, we only have so far only seven institutions are registered accessing e-Nation. So we encourage you. We were able to negotiate with the Nation Media Group, and they allowed us to be, giving them, rather we register as members pay. So initially we were restricted to the 1,000 licenses, but we know different institutions have different timelines and procurement, bureaucratic procedures. So whenever you're ready, just sign the commitment to procure, the document that we sent, which we're calling commitment to purchase. and then we'll send you an invoice, and then you'll be able to access. Turnaround is usually 2 or 3 days, and then you get access to your e-paper. Unfortunately, many people have been asking about IP address. Unfortunately, we do not have IP address. The only way you can get IP access, access via IP range to the eNation is if you subscribe to more than 100 licenses. So if you're getting less than 100 licenses, you'll only be given accounts. So like if you're getting 5 accounts, I've seen most people are getting 1 when they had written 50. So if you are getting 1 account, you'll only be given 1 license, meaning 1 license will access 3 devices. Could access 3 computers or a phone, a laptop, and a tablet. But it is only by username and password. But if you subscribe to 100 license and above, then you provide the IP addresses, and your university is able to access, just by being logged in. Okay, Mr. Anthony, I've muted you. So I think that's all I wanted to say regarding the nation. And then for standard, we actually had started negotiations with standard, but we saw the low uptake of nation, and we didn't want to embarrass ourselves after signing an agreement. So we said, let's finish with nation first, and then we'll embark on a standard. So I know some colleagues have been asking for both nation and standard, but for now, let's just get done with nation, and then probably mid-year we can go back to the standard deal. Mr. Otoma, we are ready when you are.
Yes, Arnold, I think I'm ready now.
Perfect. Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen so that I can demonstrate how to register your institution. So the information that you need right now at this particular moment is the details of the person who is going to manage the account. And we have agreed that you can have at least 2 people on the system. One who will be an administrator or the overall in charge, and maybe another person who is in charge of, say, e-resources, or any other person that the person in charge will nominate. So apart from that, you will also need the IP addresses, of course, as we have said. So,
Oma, I hope you have, Sila has cleared the system, right?
I don't think it has been cleared, but other details have been cleared. And what we can do is for those who had already uploaded some information, if there's something that you have not done correctly, you have an opportunity to edit that and make it right.
So they start just as though they are signing up, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But for those who had already registered, those who had already some information on the system, you can just edit whatever you had. So we said that to access this platform, you will go to the KLISC website, just like Arnold had demonstrated to us. And then under resources, there is this link for KLISC Dashboard. You will click on it and it is going to take you to the dashboard, the login page for the dashboard. So you need to sign up. When you get to this page, you first of all need to sign up. I think I'm getting confused because I had already created my account. So click on sign up here. So here you will give the name of your institution. And an email address. Then the contact phone number for
no, they have not. These guys have not. Yeah, that's what I'm already. But Roma.
Yes, sir.
The list is not yet clear there. So I think they have to clear everything there first of all. Because for example, if somebody didn't put a password before, it's not getting out.
What we are saying is that if you had already created an account, you can just continue using that account.
Yes.
And from my demonstration,
yeah,
If there's something you had not done correctly, then you'll be able to make those corrections.
Okay,
Yes. So if you already have an account, simply proceed to the login page. So here, remember to select publisher, subscriber. For us members, we are all subscribers. Then here you'll click on I'm not a robot. And then register. So once you do this, an official will need to approve your account.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
The login credentials. I think the ones I'm being given by our librarian, you're not able to get in.
Yes, that's why I'm saying.
Yes.
Once you do what I've just done, you can see you'll get to this screen. And if you read here, it says your account has been created and a verification request has been sent to admin.
Okay.
What that means is that the account will have to be verified. It will have to be approved.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So now if I go to the dashboard as an admin, from here, an official is able to see all the new user requests. There's a big list of people who have just requested to, who have enrolled. So from here, I am able to approve the institutions. So I'm going to pick mine just for demonstration purposes.
I think it's already approved, eh?
Oh, it's already approved.
Yeah.
So if it is already approved, then I can
excuse me, hello.
Yes.
Can you please approve Al-Jamiat Saifia, because I'm also having a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You can just approve all of them.
Yes, everyone should be approved as of now. So now, from now on, you should be able to log in after that approval process.
Yes, I am able to log in. Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome. So remember from the demonstration that we have just had, after that approval process, you should be able to log in. I hope you're still seeing my screen because I've just changed windows. So Arnold, here you can see my screen. The one for Karatina University as a subscriber.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So remember, like we have already been told, you can come to your profile, this icon here, and click on profile. You can be able to update your details from that particular section.
Sorry, I didn't see that again.
You will come to this icon on top here.
The one with a picture?
Yes, the one with a picture. Then select profile. So if there's any information that you didn't put correctly, or if you want to update any other information about your institution, you can update it from here. And as you add all these details, you will see the percentage here changing. For instance, if I put here Karatina and put the postal code correctly, then our website
Am I allowed to ask a question right now?
Yes, I think you can ask a question as we proceed.
Okay. I thought I heard you had said that we send institutional affiliated emails, but I'm seeing those lists which you have just registered. People have sent their personal emails.
Mr. Arnold.
Yes, of course, the best practice is to put in institutional emails. By institution, we are saying like if you have a library.ac.ke, but if the head librarian or the person in charge can assure us that they will have constant access to the email, and in case they leave, they actually during the handover process make sure that their successor registers onto the dashboard. Because we of course appreciate that there's some institutions who might not have such corporate emails, but in this case, let's just focus on the institutional domain. Let us not have Gmail or Yahoo or such like emails. Yeah, but as much as possible, we encourage you use your corporate email.
Okay, thank
you. Yes. We recommend that you use your institutional emails because of people don't stay with the institutions forever. People move. So I was saying that it is recommended that we use corporate emails, but so that during change management it becomes very easy to hand over this to another person who might come in after you. But if you use your personal email, then it might become a challenge. So after you update your profile, you can see now from here, I have 92% complete profile. Now, something else I think that I need to demonstrate is uploading your eyepiece. So you will come to IP on the left-hand side here and say add IP, just like it had been demonstrated. Then you will click on the add button here. And remember, we requested for public IPs. And if you attended a training that we had yesterday, we said that you don't put local IPs. Like this particular one is a local IP.
Maybe, Otuoma, can I request, for purposes of those who might not be privy to the, distinguishing between a public and a private, could you just maybe address that?
Yes. So for what I mean by local IPs, these are those IP addresses that are only, let me say, useful within your institution. They are not universally. There's a slide I'm looking for, which I want to share. So if you have an IP address that begins with 172, like this one, this is a local IP. Another one is 192. If you have an IP address that begins with 192, that is a local address. There's another category which I'm trying to retrieve.
110.
One?
I mean 10. 10.
10.
Yeah, 10.0. something.
Yes, and then there's also another one. I think it is 192.
141.
141 is okay.
No, 41.
141. 141 is public, is okay. Let me just retrieve. Sorry?
The IP should be a public IP.
One thing I want to say is that if you go to your ICT people and ask them for those IPs, they'll give you the correct IPs. While I'm still retrieving that slide, I think my apologies. I think I've misplaced that information. But if you have an IP that has 170, starts with 172, 192, and there's another one, but we will be able to check your IPs as you upload them, and we will accept them or reject as they come in. So to add an IP, click on this plus button here, like we have been demonstrated. Now, something that I want to point out is I'm going to do it by example of my institution, which is Karatina University. So our IPs begin with 41.89.230. Now, starting from here, the IPs will start from 1 up to 254 IPs. Meaning you can increment this number 1, this last number 1 here, up to 254 as a maximum. So instead of you putting all those IPs one by one, what you can do is that you can put there 1 and say plus 254. Hapo I hope tuko pamoja. So this is how you put a range. If for example, my institution, this is the IP address of my institution, then this last bit here, all IPs that have this prefix, the one I'm highlighting, and the last bit of the IP address starts from 1 up to 254. And add another set of 41.89.231. Then again, this is also going to start from 1 up to 254. So these are IP addresses for our town campus. Now, as you can see, we have, you can ignore this last one. We have 2 sets of IP addresses. This one that has 230 is for main campus. Then this one that is 231 is for town campus. And all of them begin from 1 up to 254. So that is how you insert a range of IP addresses. Now, when the KLISC official, okay, you can check the status of the IP address by clicking there. So as you can see, this is admin pending. Admin pending. So when they are approved, the status will change to publisher approved. It will change to green like this. I hope hapo tuko pamoja.
There are some questions. Maybe I can see Victoria. You want to ask something?
Daktari, I wanted to request that my request be approved for Mount Kenya University so that we can move together.
Ila, are you approving them?
Thank you.
Yes, I'm approving them.
Okay.
Mr. Kirandi, your hand is up.
Yes, I wanted also to ask about the approval, but I think it's going to be approved.
Okay.
So Arnold, is there something I've missed?
No, I think it's okay. I was just looking at the raised hands in case somebody is having difficulty following the process.
Excuse me, Arnold, may I ask a question?
Please go ahead, Nelson.
Yes, my question is about the IP. Initially, we had been putting IPs without the extension of the 1+254. what would be the harm if we didn't include the last bit? Once we, because most of the institutions have a whole range from 1 to 254. So if we left it without that bit, what would be the harm?
I can take that, Arnold.
But you can ask, you can lift up your hand and ask.
Yes, please, you are the teacher, Otuoma.
Yes, I can take that question. There is no harm in you putting the IP addresses one by one. I was only demonstrating that for those people who want to put in a range of IP addresses. So if you have, say, 10 IP addresses, you can put them one by one. There is no harm in putting them the old way. But if
Mr.
you have,
Toma,
yes, sir.
I don't know if I'll confuse people, but I would love to say that probably they should start putting the IPs from 2, yeah, not 1. The reason being that most of the time, 1 is the IP for the server that receives the internet. So if we start sending requests to it, there might be an issue. So I believe it's good if it starts from 2. I don't know if I confused people more, because most of the time IP 1 is for the server that's hosts the internet itself.
The gateway.
Yes, the gateway. So if they start from 2, I think the better.
I don't think it will be a problem, because like if in my case, the IP that starts with 1 is the gateway, meaning if you are connecting from within inside Karatina University, the source or the person connecting to the internet will be, the connection will be viewed to be coming from that particular gateway, which I think is okay.
If I can just jump in, Mr. Okiai and Tuoma. So, you know, you guys are IT geeks. Gateway, most people know about the gate here. So let us, I think what we can do, let us just stick to the initial instruction that Otuoma was saying, and get IP addresses from your IT person, but make sure it is a public IP. Because what I know, even once we submit these IP addresses to the publisher, their team, their technical team will omit the gateway and continue now with the ones that are required, so that we don't complicate the work for members. I don't know. So we
Yes,
just
Arnold,
make sure.
I want to stress that point of getting the IPs from your IT people.
Yes.
Because they're the ones who fully understands how your network works. And if they give you an IP address, then you can be sure that is the right IP address. And if it doesn't work, you will still have to go back to them. So just get the IP from your IT people and then use that to upload it on the system.
Just a clarification on the question I had asked. Mine, I was not saying that I add, like if I was to use an example of one of your IP addresses, 41.89.1.231. In most cases, we've been using like that up to 231, and it is assumed all the other 1 to 254 is within that IP range.
Can you come again?
Now, the main IP address for your institution is 41.89.231, isn't it?
Yes, right.
Then the others now start from the gateway to the last one, 254.
Yes.
If we do not add 1 plus 254, wouldn't these other number cover all the others within that IP, like 1 to 254?
The information I have from the developer of the system is that we use this particular method if you are putting in a range of IP addresses. But maybe Sila, you can also clarify on that.
Okay, some of these things requires that we look at what the publisher wants to receive, you know, and the way you've done, either you say plus 254 or 1 to 254, I think they will also get the message. The most important thing is to know the ranges that you're actually pushing to them.
So you are saying whichever way we put it, they will understand.
I think, but I will consult that and then I'll refer back.
Okay.
Sila, how about the MyLoft? Because I think we also need to add it here, the IP address. Do we need this to do the same?
So for MyLoft, I think it's one IP. So you just add a single IP. Maybe Otuoma, you can actually, like that. And then you can add it and forward. The main problem will be if you are running different campuses, for instance, and you have multiple ranges. That is what now Mr. Otuoma is trying to explain, that it will be important to capture all the ranges.
Yes. And if all your e-resources are being accessed through an off-campus platform, actually there is no harm in you giving just one IP address which belongs to your off-campus software. Like for example, in our case, our off-campus software is .29. So if you are sure all e-resources are being accessed through this off-campus software, you can just put this IP address and save. The way we put one IP address individually. So this would still be okay. And that is how you put in a single IP address if you are putting it one by one.
Now, how do you edit the IP address if there is a mistake?
Still, are you able to edit these IP addresses?
Yes.
Still, are you able to edit this IP address?
Sorry, I was muted. So I think I have noted that, and I think it is important for a user to edit. So we will actually add the link to edit an IP.
And maybe at this point, you can only request the admin not to approve.
Absolutely.
If you notice that there is a mistake, you can get in touch with the officials and request that it is not approved. Then it will be rejected and you can get an opportunity to upload it afresh. That is in the meantime. But as Sila has said, they are going to add a link to edit. So I think the person chairing the session, I think I am done with my bit. Unless I've forgotten something.
Not yet, Otuoma, I can see some questions. Janice Liakuka is asking, please, the IP address, is it for the institution or is it KLISC?
The IP address that we want is the IP addresses of your institution.
Okay. Then we have Jamlek Ngugi has raised his hand.
We try to register our account, but the register word is not active. So kindly deactivate what we had registered, we start again.
You are saying?
Yeah, we are trying to create the account, but the register bar is not active.
Okay, I have noted that on Otuoma, but I think the account has not come through, so it's not yet completed for registration.
Because the register link is not activated on my end. I don't know why.
You know, when it is not registered, when it's not active, it means there's a mandatory field that you haven't filled it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if through that process of registration, there's a field that you need to probably are missing out.
Okay.
Maybe you start afresh.
Yeah. Okay.
Otuoma.
Yes.
There is a question from somebody from KU Referral Hospital that your section here, institution type, I think it's not active.
Yeah, so yes, I know that one. So the institute type, we wanted to categorize the institution based on their types. I mean, and we can only do that after the registration.
Okay, so.
But that one will be done by the admin from KLISC.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if we have another question.
Sila?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Still, I can also clarify to those people who are using Remotex how they are going to get their Remotex IP, because I know some of them are also struggling for it.
Okay, I will share the. I think we've already shared, but nonetheless, I will send all the IPs for all the either myloc or Remotex, so that they can start adding up. So I will send to each and every account.
So I think Rose Mukami has a hand up. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, I'm asking if I'm using Remotex, do I need to provide my institutional IP?
Yes, it's important to provide the institutional IP. The IP for Remotex will only cater you when you are off campus. But whenever we wanted to capture the on-campus statistics, then we will use actually the institutional IP.
All right.
So it is important to register both.
There are some small things also that are being asked. Why you have an American flag on the profile, and then you also edit research priorities, the spelling is not good. So check on that.
Okay, the American flag is the American language. It's an American English. Maybe we change that to Kenyan language. I mean,
Kenyan English.
Flag, but that is the language.
So if anyone has a question that we have not answered, you can simply speak up, then we will respond. If you have asked a question in the chat and we have not responded, simply speak up, then we'll be able to answer the question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Otoma. I can see when you are editing the profile, after you key in the fields,
yes,
the field for update profile turns blue, but when you click on it, it's not updating. Is it an issue on your end?
Let me just go there and see.
Please
when
do.
You are,
thank you.
Yes. So which field is not active?
No, I'm saying once you key in the details, when you are editing the profile at the KLISC dashboard, after you key in the fields, on my end, it turns a blue update profile. So if I click on it, it's not picking.
I noticed that you have to click outside, somewhere else outside, then it becomes active. Then you can save.
Yes, I've done it. I've tried. Just confirm whether it's okay.
Let me just try to do that. So you can see mine is updating. I can see mine is updating, Vicky.
Okay, then let me retry again. Perhaps it's on my end.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, thanks.
So anyone else who has a question that we have not answered, you can just pick up and we'll respond. Arnold, I think I will hand the session back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Otoma, for that very practical and insightful session. So, colleagues, this was just an overview of how to go about the system. Of course, being the first time, you might encounter challenges, but the team is there to assist you. And again, as it was mentioned in the beginning, we opted to have the training session for you to familiarize with the system first. And then once we have already registered all the members on the system, and again, registered all the publishers on the system, that is when now we'll say we are live to go. You can now be sending your IP addresses, changes, updating your IP addresses, everything through the dashboard. And the chair of KLISC, Professor Kavule, will be available to advise the go live date. So at this point, Mr. Shiudu, I don't know anything. I know you were supposed to do the training with Mr. Otuoma, so.
Mr. Otuoma has covered the ground perfectly. Maybe just two things. I see two questions here which maybe might not have been responded to. One was from librarian asking about what happens to an institution which has been deregistered. I stand to be corrected, but I believe that what happens during deregistration when an institution is deregistered is that your account is deactivated, meaning that your data is there, but you will not be able to use the system to then communicate with publishers or make requests, because then you're no longer an active member. But once you are restored to good standing, then your account is reactivated and your credentials become active again. I believe that that should be the process. I stand to be corrected. David Mutiso, I don't know if you've been able to log in for KU, because you're asking if you're able to log in or not. And Janice was requesting for approval for KISE. But other than that, I think Monotoma has actually covered the ground very nicely. Again, as was stated at the beginning, what we are hoping for is that at least for all the members who have been present in this meeting, that you have actually updated your data. And going forward, we actually now have some record of your details, which then can guide KLISC in facilitating access to resources. There are other facilities there which I think we might not have been able to demonstrate. You must have seen somewhere there a portion where you can actually do emails for purpose of communicating to KLISC and for requesting for support. Again, now that you have access, I highly recommend, now that you have a username and password, feel free to walk around the system, try things out. And then of course, reach out to the ICT committee, myself, Juan Otuoma, and all the other members as you know them. And we'll be very happy to assist you and guide you through on a personal level, how to go about the system. I see some hands up. Arnold, I don't know if I should give them.
Yeah, sure, please do. Yeah.
Because I see, let me start with, I see Maingi Ben Peter has his hand up, Gichege, Jamlek. You all have hands up, so in no particular order, whoever of you is ready to go, please go ahead.
Okay, my issue. Hello.
Maingi.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, my issue was that part of the IP where the presenter said that after you make a mistake in the IP, giving your institutional IP, then you should talk to the admin so that he cannot approve the IP. What will happen if you realize later after the IP has already been approved? Is there a process of reverting back or ensuring that you get back to the correct institutional IP address?
I stand to be corrected, but the answer is yes, precisely, and that's why we have gone this platform way, because for you as an individual user, you can actually, I don't know, you do a data entry, then maybe you're having challenges with access. You can always go back to the platform and check and see, hang on a second, what details did I provide? And you realize, if you do realize that the details which have been approved are incorrect, you can then again communicate to the admins, and then you can get that addressed. So first you put in the correct one. I would say that a good way to go about it would be, when you realize you've done an error, put in the right one, and then as you're requesting for the old one, for the incorrect one to be removed, as you're requesting for the wrong one to be removed, the right one is already present, so that then you more or less have a seamless transition. But just to answer your question, yes, regardless of whatever time you realize that an error has been made, it can be corrected. And then again, just to remind us, you see that the beauty of having the platform is, instead of having to go through your emails to discover what did I write to KLISC, what did I say, now you have a central place so you can actually just log in and see at a glance what details you have provided. Okay, I hope that answers you, Mindy.
Yes, thank you.
And then again, as you can see what Otoma is sharing on the screen, IP ranges that ideally we should not give out. So when you look at the range that has been given to you, and you see some of the things that is on the screen there, already you know that what you have is probably not usable. It's not a public address. Those are private addresses. Okay. Yes.
Hello. Yes. Yeah, on my KLISC dashboard,
yes,
I'm seeing profile completion status is at 8%.
Mm-hmm.
So am I expecting it to get to 100% later, or there is something
yes.
that, yeah.
What you need to do is on the platform. If you click on your profile, at the very top, in fact, that icon where you see 38%, if you just click there, it will take you to your profile page. So your goal is to get to your profile. Okay. One is at the very top where you have the American flag, and then there's a bell, and then there's your icon for the profile. If you click on that, it will take you to your profile. The reason why at 38% is because there's information that is pending.
Oh, there's information pending, yeah?
Yes, there's information pending.
Oh, yeah, I can see there is still some information. So I need
profile,
that
information. Yes, you will see things like your phone. Some details have been captured from the original sign-up sheet, but then there's other details: primary contact, your website URL, primary contact, job title, so on and so forth, your research priorities, user population, so on. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that then again, for all the members present now that Chege has asked that question, we are hoping that as we come out of this session, everybody is at 98%, hopefully. That is the prayer. So please do try to get to 98% as best as you can. Of course, remember, you can always come back and edit your profile. So this session is not the end. You can always come back and edit your profile, but it would be really nice if you could actually do it now that we're here and we are all together with the support people and Sila and everybody else. If you could do it now, better.
Okay. Another issue.
Yes.
On the IPs.
Yes.
I've put my range, but now because like .1 and .2 are being used by our internal router and the Kenneth router, can I start from 3 plus 254?
Yes, but again, one of the things that you want to be clear about, and I think this was mentioned earlier, better provide the full range as is.
Okay.
Because then your IT people have a degree of flexibility with regards to changing your network configuration. So that if your network configuration changes,
I am the IT now. I'm the IT guy. So
yes. If you're the IT, fine. Then if you're actually in control of the parameters, then you actually put in the ranges as you put in what is usable. Basically, the addresses that people can get out into the world through.
Yeah, okay.
That's the idea. So if it starts from 2, starts from 3, wherever. So that's absolutely fine because you actually
one has already been assigned now to our machines.
Yes. But for the rest of the world, Chege is unique because he actually is in control of the environment. For the rest of us who are not in control of our environments, better to just put the entire range so that then your IT has flexibility with regards to making changes to network configuration. So maybe if they decide to change the address of your router from 1 to 2, and you started from 2, or the internet, your proxy changes from, 1 to the other, you don't suffer disconnection, okay? But if you actually are in charge of your infrastructure, or that you have the person in charge of your infrastructure next to you in this session, put the ranges as is, because then you actually have some control, okay? Yes. I see librarian asking a question. Is it possible to change the admin at this point, especially if the account had been dormant and we would deactivate. Yes. Again, remember that's why your profile, you have access to your profile details. You can change them at any point in time, regardless of your status. So change, feel free to update your details. Again, if the details that you have at hand were probably not the most suitable and you'd like to make a change, please do so. Okay. I hope that answers librarian.
Yes, I have a question, Bernard.
Yes, Rodney.
An IP address that begins with 197, is it a functional one?
Yes, 197 is functional. If I could let me just pick up from the chat again, just to give you a sense of the ranges. I'm just posting a sense of, I posted this before. Let me just post it again here. I've just thrown into the chat. So some of the ranges where if you see your address falling into that range, you want to seek clarification. So I won't go into the technicalities of class A, class B, class C, but the idea is this: if you see your address something 10 dot something, that probably is not. If you see 172 dot between 16 and 31, okay. And then the last one, if you see 192, 168, okay, that again is private. And then there's one other one, 127. Anything starting with 127 dot and so on and so forth. Anything starting with 127, regardless of whatever follows. So it can be 127.0.0.1 and so on and so forth. Okay. Again, those were in the slide in the slides that Kwanotom was sharing. I'm just repeating them here to help us. Okay. Yes, I see people requesting for the slides or for share, requesting for the presentations. I believe these will be shared to all the participants just to allay your concerns. I see Huawei. Is this, so let me start with Huawei Mercy Osiri asking, I have filled the profile, but when I click update profile, no response. Just hang on a second. I think Monotoma had mentioned that. You probably have to click outside and then click again for that to work. Jamlek, is this the correct entry of IP, e.g. 41 plus 24? Yes, I would remove the spaces. Okay, so avoid the spaces. I'll just put it back there without trying to put it in other spaces. So that if someone is using an automated tool to dump this, they can read it. That's fine, actually, that would work, but better to start at 1. A better representation of that would be something like that. Start from the 1st to 24. For the sake of those of you who have a slight technical bent, that address that Jamlek has just shared, basically what it is saying is that given that range, you have 24, so that the range is from 1 to 24. Okay, that's what you're saying there. Okay. Jamlek, I hope that has answered you. Admin is saying my IP address is still pending. Not to worry, it will be looked at. It's just that we are a lot of people putting in all our data here. So remember, there's the approval of the accounts, there's also the approval of the addresses. So the addresses will be reviewed and approved. So not to worry about the approval of the addresses. Just get your addresses into the system, they'll all be looked at. Okay.
Now there is a problem on the update profile. The drop down menu for the institution type.
Yes.
It's not dropping down anything.
That's fine, because the idea is all of us need to put in our data, that will be administratively assigned. So don't worry about that. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So just to answer Donald, those of you who've noticed the drop down for institution is not working. No, it's not that it's not working. It's just that the data that is supposed to support it has not been provided yet. But the broad groupings are university, college, research institute, so on and so forth. So those broad groupings will be put together, and then they will actually be administratively allocated. So not to worry. Okay. I see Ruben has mentioned, I have just been given the IP address for, I believe it's the East Africa School of Aviation as 197 by ICT department. It is not among the range that you have put down. Yes, Ruben, that is fine. So the range that I've put down, if your number is inside the range, it is wrong. If your number is outside the range like yours, it is correct. Okay, so just to be clear, the range that I put down earlier where I said class A, class B, class C, you want your IP addresses not to fall into that range, okay? That is where you should not be, okay? Just to clarify that again, okay? So the range that I shared is where you should not be, okay? Ruben, I hope that sorts you out. Maurice, you are requesting for approval. Again, just to repeat, we are a lot of people putting in a lot of data. We will get round to it, okay? But the most important thing is that you have put it there. Samuel, again, same thing as Maurice, not to worry, it will be approved. Kevin, suppose I rectify an IP address, will it require a new approval for rerouting the resources, or will it be a plug and play? It will need a new approval. So any input that you provide will actually need administrative approval, okay? That's Kevin. Kerandi, is this format correct? Actually, if you see something like that, Kerandi, not quite. Huh? What basically that is saying, ideally a better, the proper representation of that, what your IT have given you, they've just told you that we are doing everything in this range. So a better representation would be, I have just put it down. So if you get who was I answering to? So Kerandi, I've just put in on the message, on the messages. Ideally, what was being said, what your IT was saying, basically is just that this is our network, so all the devices in that range would be there. So I've just put that there. And he's saying the registration is still pending. Otoma, maybe you can look at that, or Sila. Kevin, I think I answered you. Peter Njoroge, KICD still unable to log in. I'm guessing this is because maybe you need approval. So maybe that you can have a look at. Zoom 7, I managed to update to 92%. 92% perfect, you're where you should be. Okay, the reason you're not at 100 is because that bit for institution will be administratively assigned. Once that's administratively assigned, you get to 100%. So 92% is perfect. That's where you're supposed to be. Okay.
Actually, Mr. Shiund, I think for the 8% is the fourth. So if they upload the report, it will be 100%. But I think that's not a big deal now.
Okay. Okay, sorry, we had some chatter, and then we had to mute everybody, just to get ourselves back to order. Rose Sang, the detail there is correct, but better to replace that with a plus sign so that we have consistency. But the information that you're putting across is correct. It was just to put down.
How do I do that?
Let me I'm just putting this down on. So if you had already put it into the IP address range, yeah? you can just do a new entry, and then the previous one will be moved. Okay.
And the user population is not saving.
Sorry?
My user population.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Your user population. So this is Rose, huh?
Yes.
Yes. So your user population, what you're looking at, just to give you an idea, let me take my own example. I have put down my user population as 7,500. How did I get to that number? That number for us, we have our biggest population is actually undergraduate students, who are about 5,000. Then we have graduate students, 1,000 and something. And then we also have diploma and professional students who then form up the balance. So that total, what you're looking at is your full-time equivalent or FTE. So what you're trying to put there is your more or less student population. I know depending on how well institutions are automated, this number may or may not be 100% accurate, but yes, you probably will be within the ballpark. You know, from the current enrollment or from the numbers that you have, you more or less can be able to get yourself into an appropriate range, okay? But what you're looking at is your full-time equivalent. So basically the students that you have in your institution. I hope that is helping you, Rose.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's the population is basically the sum total of students that you have, okay, yes, across the various programs. Because again, remember, because sometimes in some institutions, people focus only on the degree and maybe graduate students, but then you also have diplomas and other students on campus who are actually using your e-resources, okay? Yes. So those actually do count. And those are some of the things that we talk about that you say, okay, yes, I choose to recognize the degree students, but I also have these diploma certificates and so on and so forth, who are on campus and reading the newspaper, and then nation is getting concerned that, hey, hang on a second, you said you have 50 people, but the traffic that you're getting on a day is 100,000, okay? Yes. Just some example, okay?
Can I add something to that?
Benina, proceed.
Yes, that is clear for maybe training or academic institutions. But yesterday during the training, we had a question from now the government institutions, whereby they were asking they have MDS, that is ministries, departments, and entities. So they do not have a clear-cut kind of user population, like the way you can say the number of students. So my advice is, if it's a government, they need to know how many staff members. So the user population is not necessarily students, even the staff members who are going to access the e-resources. So you also need to consider that. And finally, maybe just since I'm on the floor, I want to appreciate Chege. I want to appreciate Gilbert, Morris. They are ICT staff. They are not librarians. We invited them because their institutions are new, among the new members who have joined. Chege is from Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, and Gilbert is from the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital. And yesterday we indicated to them they need also to join this session because they will be the support. They need to give support to the librarians, and I'm happy that they have joined. Thank you so much. Feel appreciated and welcome.
Thank you, Nina.
Again, Gilbert, a big hand to you, because this is really awesome to have you on board. It's exceptional, I tell you. And the librarians here will concur with me. It is quite some sacrifice for you to be here, and we thoroughly appreciate you. Thank you so much for showing up.
Thank you.
So,
question, please.
Question, yes, feel free, Kirandi, proceed.
Yes, my question is, when I'm updating my profile, if I change the email address, for instance, does it mean that it will automatically affect my login username?
Yes, because you see the email is what you're using to log in. So if you do change that in your profile, then technically what you have done is just change your username. So that's an important point to note for all of us. When you change your email address, effectively what you've just changed is your username. So now you use the new email address to log in going forward. but the password would stay the same, unless of course you change that as well, okay? So thank you very much for bringing that up. That really is a key point, huh? DFMTS, we happen to the newest member of the KLISC family. Where do we get the login credentials? So to get login credentials, the login, you provide the login credentials. You go to the site. Let me just repeat the process again. Huh? So for you to acquire login credentials for the KLISC dashboard, what do you need to do? It is not KLISC that gives them to you. It is you who generates them on signing up. So you have to sign up, you have to register, okay? So you go to the KLISC website, you find the link to, you go to resources, you find the link to the KLISC dashboard, and then instead of login, there's an option there for sign up. So use the sign up option, put in some details there. Two most important pieces of information that you need to put in is of course your email address, and then there's someone for the password. Now those will be your login credentials, okay? Those will be your login credentials. So just to repeat again, the login credentials to the dashboard are not provided to you by KLISC. You generate those for yourself during the sign up process, okay? I think that's just being demonstrated right now by one automa. As you can see, if you look at the fields, okay, you can see the fields there. So those fields, okay, those fields, those are login credentials. So you provide the login credentials, and then of course your account gets approved, and then those become your details going forward. And then again, as just been mentioned by Karandi, if you change your email address from your profile, you have changed your username. Okay, you can also change your password. The system, in case you forget your password, but you do have access to the email address, there's an option there where you can actually go ahead and cover your password. So there's an option for password recovery on the login option. There's an option there that says forgotten password. So you can use that to recover a forgotten password. So just in case that after this session, you did write down what you have put there, and then you can't remember it, you can always come back and say forgotten password, and then you get a notification and you can go through a reset process. Okay. Helen Magut is asking, apart from editing profile and adding addresses and adding IP addresses, what other sections are we editing? For today, the goal of this particular session was just to get us to the point where we actually have our details. So that was the key part. But for those of you who are a little more savvy, you can feel free and go over to packages, okay? On the left-hand navigation menu, you can go over to packages and select your band, okay? Select your band and subscribe, okay? Select your band and subscribe. That's something that you can do, okay? As a start, as more data is provided, but feel free to do that as well, okay? Feel free to do that as well. That's something else you can do now that you're here. And then again, as I said, now that you have access to the platform, feel free to just walk through the menus, click on the various menus that are there, and just have a look at what they're doing, okay? And have a look at what they're doing, okay?
Now, I'm noticing something about the subscription.
Yes.
I've checked the band. The payment status is pending, yet it was paid in October.
Yes, not to worry, because remember, right now we are rolling out the system. So when you click the band that you're on, you basically subscribe to it. What will happen then is, of course, now there'll be a bit of a reconciliation process. Reconciliate, just matching, because now remember, we are transitioning from between two systems. There was something else we're using before, now we're moving to using this. So of course, some reconciliation needs to be done. So not to worry, that will be reconciled, okay?
So
Daniel, okay. Anne is saying her profile is at 38%. I believe that's what you mean by 38, okay? So Anne, what you need to do is to head over to your profile page and fill out as many of the fields as you can, okay? And to get to your profile, again, at the very top, next to the gear icon, there's your profile icon. And as Bonotome is showing, so you can see that profile right there. You can go there, update your profile, and you will move yourself forward, okay? And just for you to be inspired, if you can see Otoma's profile, he's gone ahead and put the logo of the institution, looking very nice, huh? Okay. Just the best practice there. So for the profile photo, use the logo or use nothing. Don't put your photo. You remember this account is for the institution. It is not your personal profile. So the no avatars or personal pictures. Put the photo of the organization, the logo of the organization. That would be the preferred image to use. I'm at Brian is saying I'm at 92. Anything else? Nothing else. You're home free. Okay. If you haven't put a photo, feel free to add that. But 92 is where we're hoping to get. Okay. 92 is where we're hoping to get. Good. So the questions seem to have trickled to a stop. At which point then I would probably like to, with your permission, with the collective permission, I would like to hand this back to Arnold. So Arnold, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Bernard.
One last question here from, what do I indicate for university priority, Rose? So what you're trying to indicate there is probably the key subject areas that your institution is dealing with. Again, just to give you an example, in my case, our main programs are in business, healthcare, hospitality. Now we've started something on agribusiness. We've also started something on engineering. So that is exactly what I've put down as my priorities. Okay, how does this help KLISC? It actually helps us even just to, it helps KLISC, and I talk about us, KLISC, because we are KLISC. It actually helps all of us to be able to now have, what's it called, real data that can guide us, KLISC, resources, and even just identify things that we can use, okay, to know what works for us and what doesn't. Because if we all know the areas that we're covering, when you're trying to identify a resource or something pops up on the radar, you realize that nobody is dealing in this area or many people are dealing in this area, you know, it helps, okay? So for university priorities, what you put there, your key subject areas, okay? Am I supposed to see users on my dashboard? Am I supposed to see users on my dashboard? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Just a minute. Dashboard. I'm not sure. I think no.
No.
The statistics, that's a different matter. So if it's user, if check it, that's not very clear. Are you talking about users statistics or users, your people as they access your platform? Again, that's not clear. Maybe clarify that.
Hello, I think when you're presenting,
yes.
When the dashboard was being presented, I could see on the approvals, there are users, I could see East African School of Aviation and all other subscribed institutions. That was I'm asking. It's on there.
No, that was administrative. That was when our was presented an administrator on the platform. You can see all the various institutions as users. But for the rest of us, ordinary wananchi, you will not be seeing that. Okay. Yes. Jane, who will take me back on board once I've cleared the pending bills? You can reach out to any of the administrators or the ICT committee. Okay. Kindly provide contact person for assistance that will be shared, or rather, who will clear me? Or who will clear me? I'm guessing, or who will clear me once I've cleared the pending bills. Remember that the typical process of getting back on board is once our treasurer checks your details and you're reconciled and you're back in good standing, then of course there's a communication chain. So from our end, someone from KLISC will reach out to you and help you get re-onboarded. So that should be the general order of things, but things are moving a bit slowly. Of course, there's our general email, KLISC.org. Please use that, and then you'll be assisted. Okay. So for all purposes of for all contacts, my recommendation would be to use the KLISC email address, KLISC.org. Of course, the platform has a communications option. For those of you able to log in, you can see there's an option there for email, where you can use that to make communications. But outside of that, I would say, and this has been a long-standing message from KLISC, please do not write to individuals. Okay, use the general KLISC email address, because then it makes it easier when you have multiple eyes looking at the thing for your issue to be addressed. Okay, because then if you write to an individual, it depends on when the individual actually gets round to it. Okay. So the contact for all contacts on this matter and anything KLISC, please use the general KLISC email address, KLISC@gmail.com. Okay. Our login request is waiting approval. That will be sorted out. I don't know. New member doesn't understand what KLISC band A, band B mean. And just and for the sake of anybody else who's in a similar pickle, what do we mean by KLISC bands? So what KLISC has done, and I know this will probably have been covered in the onboarding session yesterday for those of you who attended the training, but just to repeat this. So the way KLISC operates is that members are grouped according to the number of according to the user populations. So for ease of management, instead of pricing, okay, and this is what is being shared right now by Tuoma, you can see the bands there. So what these bands mean and what these numbers mean, band A, band B, band C, and so on and so forth. These are your user population. This is your user population. So based on your user population, you will then be assigned to, you then fall within a band. So given, if I take my own example, initially when we started out, our FTE was something like 4,500, okay? So we were actually in band B. But then since then we have grown, our user population has grown. We have had more programs, more intakes. Now we are at 7,500. So I have moved as an institution. Once I was in band B, now I have moved to band C because my user population has increased. Okay, and then taking the example that Penina had mentioned before for government institutions and entities which are not educational in nature. So that means you're using a staff population. So your staff population was 100 people. Okay. You have since joining KLISC opened up new branches in Mombasa, Nairobi, new offices in Mombasa, Nairobi, God knows where else. Okay, your staff population has grown from 100 to 1,000, okay, or to 2,000. Okay, so previously you were in band A because maybe you're just 100, you had only one office in Nairobi. Now you have offices in every county. Your staff population has grown to 3,000. You move as an institution from band A to band B, which means what you'll be paying to KLISC on an annual basis will necessarily change. Okay, I hope that helps Anne and anybody else who's in a similar pickle. Kewi still unable to log in. I'm not too sure where you're stuck.
Ben?
Yes.
There is a number of people who are saying that they are not able to log in, but when I check on the system, we have approved all user requests.
Yes.
So probably it means that either they are using the wrong email or the password. Maybe they have already forgotten the password.
The password. If I may make a suggestion for the sake of members, because all the people who find themselves unable to actually have logged in at the end of this session, maybe we can have a sidebar, or we can take down all your details and then have a separate session for all the people who've been unable to log in. Okay, I don't know if that's reasonable, rather than we go through the entire registration process. Okay, so anybody who's still, just to be clear, as of now from the administrative side, there is no institution pending. So if you're unable to log in, one or two things is happening. Either you're using the wrong details to try and log in, okay, or you haven't properly completed the registration process. Okay, so those are either the two things happening. Okay, Contact person for KLISC Dashboard support. Again, the contact remains the main KLISC email address, KLISC@gmail. Okay, so that's what we use. So when you use that, you can be assisted, because then that means you have all the assorted members of the ICT committee who can actually be able to reach out to you and assist you. Okay, rather than doing an individual email to myself or to Bwana, it's more useful to use the general email to KLISC. Okay. Approval for MMU is still pending. Approval for MMU login account is still pending. We don't have any login accounts pending as of now from the administrative board. So either you've been sorted out, if it's still pending, there's something missing in your details. Jane was asking for the bands to be displayed again. When Otoma, you can display the bands for the sake of Jane. This was at 2 minutes ago. Otoma, you can display the bands again.
That was Arnold. Yeah, there.
There you go. It was Arnold. Okay, so the bands there. Done. Okay, so Jane, you have the bands there. And then again, remember, sometimes we are shy about requesting for information. Just to reassure everybody that the KLISC email address works. Okay, so you need information on the bands. An email, you'll actually get the bands, even though typically this is part of the information package for all new members. It's typically given. For all existing members, all these rates were shared. Check your emails, they were actually shared. Remember, we approved these rates in the AGM last year, and it was all shared. Okay, so if you check your emails for all existing members, you will find the details. Okay. But if you're having trouble going through your emails to find this, just drop an email to KLISC using the Gmail address, and it will be resent to you directly. Okay. Great. Okay. And just remember, looking at the bands that are being displayed, the rates in effect, the new rates. You see where you have new rates, that's what is in effect. Okay. They initially were a bit lower, but then as members, we approved a rate increment. Okay, so you have a new rate. Okay, so the new rate is what you should be using. Okay, then this is what you should be using. Okay, and then again, please note the bands. Some of the older members might have forgotten that we actually added a new band. Band D, Band E actually was an addition, just to cater for members who are in between 15,000 to 20,000. Okay, right. So Arnold, now let me hand it back to you. I handed it over and then took it back, so let me hand it back again to Arnold with the permission. And then again, thank you all for coming and for taking the time to just be here and to update your details and to share your data and to just help us as KLISC to move forward in a slightly smarter way. Okay, in a slightly smarter way. That's what this is all about. Just helping us to serve and be served better. Okay. Good. So Arnold, back to you again, and this time hopefully for good.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Colleagues, as you can see, and I hope you agree with me that this session has been very practical. Our ICT and innovations team are very well versed with technology. And maybe just to mention, yes, Bernard has advised that we write to KLISC.org, which is the point of contact. But let's say you're struggling and you want to know how to distinguish between IP address, local and public. We are going to set up an email, and I think this one I will do it as soon as we finish this meeting. So let me just put it there, ict@klisc.or.ke. So this is specifically for matters if you're struggling with your dashboard. So we'll be able to assist you so that we also don't overwhelm the other committee with things that they might not be able to handle. So the ICT committee, and this email will be accessible by all the ICT members, and they'll be able to respond to your queries. So that one is specifically for the dashboard, if you're having challenges, either maneuvering and whatnot. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that these bands, if you remember very well during the AGM, we presented them during the AGM and members approved, but with the condition that since the budgets, some institutions have already done budgets for 2021, and the financial years are July to June for some, and the others is January to December, that we postponed it to begin after people have budgeted. So now the invoices that you'll be receiving from July to October 2022, which it is going to be payment for 2023, is the one that will have these payments. However, for the new members, they are already going by the new bands. So a letter will be communicated to all members by the chair of KLISC, just so that you can even inform your VC or your finance people that moving forward for 2023 subscription, the payments have changed. And I think this was, if you remember very well, we agreed during the AGM. So I'm just looking at the program. I realized we are way ahead of time. We were supposed to actually have a session of registration where I say, just like an examination, start and stop, but I can see now it's like everyone is registered. So I'd like to confirm with Mr. Sila and Mr. To that all our members are registered. I can see we have 126 institutions. I know it might not translate to the number of, rather 126 members on this Zoom meeting, but it might not translate to the institutions because I can see some have 2, 3 participants, etc., etc. So Sila, could you just confirm to us how many institutions are, registered? Because remember, the objective was by the time we leave this meeting, everyone is registered, everyone is comfortable with using the dashboard. And in case of any assistance, we are here to help you. And then as you think of that, maybe I would like you to also, because I know I have seen a question about payment. We have not showed you the part where you can see the statements, but we have assured you you'll be getting statements. I know earlier on, we were using, rather when we were doing demos, we tried to see how a statement, a typical statement would look like, how the typical invoice look like. So Sila, I don't know from the back end if you still have some of the invoices, some of the statements, so that we can show colleagues, and so that eventually when we start sending invoices and statements, they see what to expect. Previously, we had some challenges when the automated system that we're currently using, it shows down there 0, but some people have been confusing it to read that they have still not made the payment. So, sometimes these systems, the way they are made, they have certain formats. So, Sila, if you have that on standby, that would be good. Apart from that, I don't see any other question. Let me just confirm. Unfortunately, the chair was not able to join us. Professor Kavulia is held up in another emergency. Then Mr. Mao also had to step out because he had to attend to something. But I think we have covered a lot. At this point, I would like Sila to confirm to us if all institutions have registered. And if you are here and your institution is not mentioned among those who have registered, please also just let us know so that we can sort that out. So over to you, Mr. Sila.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Arnold. I can see there are 46 institutions that have registered so far, which is a good number. However, I know most of them will be registering more. Of course, there are duplicates in terms of 2 people registering, but the concrete institutions are like 46 as of now. And also maybe to add on what you've mentioned, the part for the invoicing, statement might not be feasible now because again, we need to start invoicing so that we can actually, print out the invoices, the statement. But I think when Dr. Sarah, we will be working together, the ICT and Dr. Sarah, to have all the invoices that has been sent be received on this platform. So that once we receive the payment, we received the payment through the platform, member institution is now able to see their statement and also to get their e-copy of the receipts. So I request that that one maybe be handled by the ICT committee and the admin.
All right, thank you, Sila. So Sila has mentioned we only have 46 institutions. Is there anyone who is having challenges with the registering? Because really that's we are 126, at least even if it was 60, we would say we are halfway. So this is the session of registration. We are doing it together. If you're having any challenges, we go there and register. So please if you're having any challenges, we can assist you. The team is here. As we wait for those colleagues, I'm looking at the program, and we have actually achieved most of it. We have done demonstration, we've done member registration. The last session was actually supposed to be on feedback. This is a plenary where we get questions from you. And this could be related to ICT, related to even KLISC generally, because of course we have a team of executive committee members here who will be able to answer your questions. So I'm waiting for some questions as we go into the plenary session. It seems we will actually finish earlier, which is good news for our colleagues. So I can see a question. This is Peter Njoroge saying he's unable to, it has failed, logging in has failed, even changing password. And then Masai Mara.
I think we can take him separately outside this and see
Definitely.
that one. Yeah.
Okay. And I think we are going to, what we're going to do before we actually now go live, we can give each other a grace period of maybe up to next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, so that for those who have not managed to register, they will do that and provide the correct public IP addresses now that we've been educated on how to distinguish between public IPs and local. So that by Wednesday now we can say this is what we are working with. We'll be pushing that to the publishers. We have around 3 new publishers who are coming on board, and this is what we'll use to push to them, including Wiley. We have told you we are subscribing to Wiley journals. We are also subscribing to, Taylor and Francis ebooks, and there are more that are coming. And the same way, we'll be using the dashboard to push for trials. So let's say we get a trial from Walter Kluwer's. So long as your IP addresses are within the dashboard, we can easily, of course, after we let you know that the trial is available, we just push the requests to the publisher, and then you are notified when access has been enabled. So I'm looking for, oh, there's a concern by Jane Lagat. I wish the KLISC executive will respond to emails as soon as possible to help some of us who need some information. So yes, Jane Lagat, we will try our best. Usually we actually respond almost immediately, I can assure you. It's just that sometimes, maybe, as you all know, we are also committed to our work, and we don't want to be fired because of spending so much time with KLISC matters. As you all know, these are voluntary work. We do not have a permanent person. Remember, during the AGM, we've talked about it, that in future, when the budget allows, we'll actually have somebody, stationed in the KLISC office at Kenyatta University to do this. But bear with us also. I know the treasurer is overwhelmed. You can imagine 140 members. And the treasurer mostly, to be honest with you, is the one who answers most of these questions, because she's the one who has access to the bank records to confirm if you've paid. And in line with that, this does not negate our standard process. You still, when you make payment, you still have to show proof, either send the receipt to the treasurer, or just if you are going to do it directly to the bank, make sure you indicate the name of your institution. I just checked last week, and we still have some institutions paying and putting the name of the messenger or the person who did the payment. And that really creates some trouble for us. And you can imagine there's money in the account, but we don't know who has made the payment. So that's still what I'm trying to say, is that we'll still continue that process where you send the proof, the treasurer, on the KLISC email address, and then activation is done. But Janet, just to assure you that we are going to, rather Jen, to work on that. And then Grace Karanja is talking about anti-plagiarism software. Yes, apparently yesterday during the training, they were informed about Turnitin and original anti-plagiarism software. Yes, that's a very good question, Grace Karanja. Authenticate is it's owned by Turnitin. It's just that it's a version meant for research, specifically research centers. And Authenticate is the one that is used by journals. Most journals embed Authenticate in the editorial managing system. So when we negotiated for Turnitin, we were told that we cannot have both. So that was the basis of engagement. We only negotiated for Turnitin. By the way, that agreement is coming to an end this year. So we're actually looking for a new MOU. If you remember, that MOU was 2018 to 2022. So that license, that contract is actually coming to an end. So perhaps when we do that negotiation for the next contract, we can consider asking them about Authenticate. But then again, that depends on the interest. So Rosa, mkono unainulia hapo, unaweka hapo unaenda tu kwa reactions, alafu unainua mkono hapo. So the other anti-plagiarism tool, original, of course, is a tool that is being fronted by IFEL. As you know, IFEL are our partners, and it's very affordable. So for those colleagues who are unable to, or rather whose budget might not, be able to sustain Turnitin, original is an alternative. And we actually learned sometime last year that Turnitin and original have now merged, just that they are having different centers of operation, but it's actually one company. I think I can say that authoritatively now because I saw it in their website. So Turnitin, original, PlugScan, same thing. But of course, you can still go to original if you want a fair price. Original is there, and Sila is also here. Sila can also give some advice regarding original because I know he also works with them. But IFEL has negotiated for original. The price is very affordable, and you can get that information. And
I can add something on that, Arnold.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, the original and anti-plagiarism are actually owned by one company, which is a group of companies owning many anti-plagiarism. It's one owner. And from the onset, Turnitin is when it was designed, it was actually pro, the Latin America and Americans. But our original was, designed for the Western Europe and also probably the African. And that explained because they are not, Turnitin is not part of iPhone, and whereas our original ended an agreement with iPhone. And that is the reason why their pricing is way cheaper than Turnitin. So, but this one at the same time, the database usage is one. They are checking from the same data centers. So the explanation might be different in terms of how they display their results.
Thank you, Sila.
Maybe Arnold.
Yes, please.
Maybe can I share my experience about trying to get original on board?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is a challenge that some government institutions may have. When you take such a proposal, you're told to get 3 other quotations of similar, those people offering similar services. But unfortunately, no other person is willing to respond, including the Turnitin and all that. So I don't know if no one has faced such a challenge, because sometimes when you take one of them, you're told maybe you've eaten something. That's why you're giving us one option. I don't know. This is just my experience.
Nelson.
Yes.
Maybe I can jump in here. Just a disclaimer. We actually were using Turnitin, and then this original last year.
Yeah.
And the way we did that was, again, we actually got as you rightly mentioned, getting quotations is a bit of a headache. But for us to actually, I mean, you send an email, then it routes and runs around. So that what you mentioned there is true. It is quite a labor of love, as I would say. But you get a runaround, but eventually you get there, because for us to actually got three, we actually managed to get the 3 quotations needed for the issue to be assessed. So we got that in. Got from original, and then we also got from gosh, I forget the third one, but you actually managed to get 3. If you reach out, I mean, most of them, the only access you have is what is it called? Is a support link on the site. But even if you're just thinking to start, already the KLISC negotiated rate, you see, is already 1 quotation, and that's our quotation it in. That's quotation 1. So now all you need is original, and Sila is here. If you reach out to Sila, he can help you get the one.
No, that one I have. The original I have.
Yeah, so if you have original, so turn it in, you can use the one for KLISC. In our case, that's what we actually used. Okay.
Okay.
And then lastly, if you look at any of the others, flag scan and any of the others, they will run you around, but if you use the support email and so on and so forth, they'll give you a run around, but eventually if you persevere, you will get there. So just to encourage you that you can get you can actually get a third quotation, but you will be given the run around, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for clarifying that to us, and even because we are colleagues, we learn from each other experiences and whatnot. So I am just looking at the chat box. Yes, so Jen, I've seen your question and will respond to you, but I can also just refer you to the Constitution as you wait for that response. And then Rose Mukami, we will send the paid up list by end of, rather mid-February. Remember we said we are giving people a grace period. I've seen quite a number of members have been paying for the last week, and the treasurer is also currently on leave. So once we have all that information, we'll share the latest list of paid up members, and also the complete list of 2022 resources, the one that has all the hyperlinks that you can actually put on your website. And this will also be put on the KLISC website. And I'm seeing somebody asking about registration, that has been answered. And then Huawei Mercy is saying that she's unable to access JSTAR, or rather she's only accessing JSTAR and the Sage. So Huawei Mercy, maybe that's a problem of IP addresses. And I refer you to the Access and Information Literacy Committee. Dr. Penina is here, Mr. Gava, they will help you. So I think that's what they were training yesterday. Probably, yeah, they'll actually reach out to you. And I think she also sent out a survey that is going to inform another training, a major training that they are planning for all members who are having some challenges with access. Again, the dashboard will alleviate these problems. We'll just be able to push all the IPs directly to publishers, and you'll not have challenges. Same to Rotich. Rotich has challenges accessing ProQuest, eBook Central. That one will be sorted out. And then I can see somebody is taking us back to the dashboard packages. If as an institution we have individually subscribed to MyLoft, how is it captured? Because we do, if we do, we'll have an invoice. Mr. Sila, I think you're the one who can answer that.
Sorry, I missed that, Arnold.
There's a question by Mr. Ngiga on the chat box.
Okay, let me read.
Giga, just to be clear, I'm guessing this is you have you're subscribed directly to MyLoft outside of the KLISC package.
Yeah, I think basically what we negotiated with KLISC was any institution within the country is under KLISC framework, whether and again, we are only serving KLISC members. We do not serve at the moment any member of KLISC, and if there are any, we request first to join KLISC. before we give the services first. So we really encourage members that let them first join KLISC. Then from there, they can enjoy all these benefits through KLISC. Because again, the pricing model that KLISC is giving to members is different from the non-members of KLISC. So, and we don't want to, go to that direction of having two pricing models in Kenya.
All right. It seems all the questions have been answered at this point in time. I think it has been a great session. Unfortunately, the chair has still not yet managed to join us. So let me just confirm again if he's there. He's not there. So from our program, I think we've gotten feedback. We've gotten been able to all be on one page. And the way forward, as we have been advised from the beginning, is that we're going to roll this out officially after everyone is registered. And then that is going to be our model of communication to publishers and even to the EC, rather to the Secretariat, regarding IP changes, regarding invoices, regarding statements, and any other relevant communication that is enabled on the system. I've seen somebody asking if they can post the proof of payment as a PDF copy on the dashboard. I think currently that functionality is not there. However, we can still go back to our vendors and see if they can customize. So for now, let's just continue with our usual direct email to the treasurer through kliscorg@gmail.com. So if there are no other questions, I would like to
Rosa has her hand.
Yes, please ask your question.
Rosa has the hand.
Rosa, please go ahead. Rosa?
Okay, I think I've already made it now. I was confused when I was trying to register. There was the issue of the organization, then the subscriber, but I've found it is KLISC, so I'm done. I've already managed to register.
Thank you, thank you. Right, yeah. So I think, as I said, we are way ahead of time, which is a good thing because we don't have lunch for people, and I can see it's almost 1 p.m. Mr. Solomon Mutai, if I may request you to just give a vote of thanks.
Now, members, I don't have a good voice, but it's to thank everybody actually for this kind of training and for what we have learned today, what is happening within the KLISC and what ICT is doing, I think is commendable. And for the members who have joined in, please receive our sincere gratitude for what you have done, to have, I think it was 157 members at one point who have joined in. We thank you for that. And I know there are so many questions and I know there are so many issues that people have. And quite a number of those will go across all the KLISC committees. Please, let's keep on interacting in this way, not only in fora like this, but right the way Otuoma said and the way other members have said. Please write to KLISC and we'll be able to respond to quite a number of those questions. And for the new members, we are trying as much as possible to place more information in the dashboard so that you will be able to have access to information that we have. So with those remarks, actually, I'll just say thank you everyone for your participation. We are grateful and thank you for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mutai. And I know I just want to add to the vote of thanks. I want to also thank Mr. Stephen Mao, who's the chair of the ICT committee, for putting this. It's been a long time coming, but most importantly also to recognize the ICT members, Mr. Shiundu, Mr. Okiai, Mr. Solomon Tai, Mr. Otuoma, who's the secretary of the ICT Innovations Committee, and Mr. Peter Gatiti, who is the outgoing chair, but also a very active member of the ICT committee. So I thank you all on behalf of the KLISC Executive Committee. I know not all of them are here, but we've been represented. We have Mr. Agava, we have Dr. Penina, we have Dr. Beatrice Quach, and we just want to let you know that we are there to support you, and we hope that we continue engaging and helping KLISC to achieve its goals. And for this session, if you remember in the beginning, we were not able to use Google Meet because Google Meet actually restricts members to only 100 people. But thankfully, we were able to, somebody donated their Zoom room. The Peter Gatiti, who is actually the Associate Vice Provost of Aga Khan University, has lent us his Zoom room. So I just want to appreciate him for being too kind. So otherwise, thank you so much, colleagues. I wish you all the best. Please let's continue, doing our best to make sure that we serve our institutions as best as we can. Thank you, and have a good day.